Hey guys, welcome to the Centre Bounce. Today I'm going to walk you through my team update, my team reveal after these preseason games. Yes, the games have come, the games have gone, everyone has updated their teams, everyone's ready. They've got a look with their own two eyes. They've had two games to look and assess, and everyone has changed their team a gazillion, billion, million, whatever number you can think of times. I don't think there's anyone that hasn't changed their team. If you haven't, if you managed to stay true to yourself and to your initial selections, then I think you might be a time traveler or a seer because there's no way you could foresee just how massive a few of these players could end up going and forcing themselves into all of our teams. So, look, I'm still not 100% sold on this. Don't get me wrong. This is my current iteration of the team. I'm definitely going to have an update, I think, before the season starts proper. We've still got this week to come. We have a break. We can still look at footage over again and really, I suppose, commit then. But right now, this is sort of what I'm rocking with, and we're going to go line by line and selection by selection. Let's go. So we start with the back line. All right. So this is a back line that I think a lot of people are seeing is the trend, I think, but there's also you can go one of two ways. I think reasonably without going absolutely bananas and completely mid-price madness. I think having two premiums is a good number. I have been flirting with the idea of having a third one in the place of Yo. I'm just not 100% sure on him. I think out of everybody in the back line, Yo is the one giving me the biggest headaches. I know he's someone that we've said a lot during the preseason that he is firming to be a lock, given his role, his history of scoring, and him as a caliber of the player that he is. I'm still not 100% sure though on him. Having said that, of course, I'm a human being. I'm very selective with my players. I don't want to just throw everybody in there. I'm obviously being a bit cautious with him, but having watched the game against Adelaide, it wasn't the best. I gotta say, the eye test didn't, he didn't tick that box. Of course, you can have a role, but whether or not this player is actually going to succeed in that role is a big factor, and that's probably why a lot of people are having a lot of discussion in the midfield with the mid prices there. I think Doherty has really cemented himself as someone who has shown that he is capable of going big. It doesn't matter if he's playing in the middle or off halfback. Some might say that he plays his best football behind the ball, gulling it up in the back line, but he is very capable of playing in the midfield and getting tackles. He did sensational. I think his role, that split between mid and defense, really suits his game and is really maximizing his output. He's getting centre bounce attendances and kick-ins. I think he's getting the best of both worlds. And for that price, I think he is going to maintain his value better than the other defenders will. And he's going to be a top six defender, barring, of course, injury and suspension. So I think it's really good to have him locked in. My boy, Jordan Ridley, I love him. Obviously, diehard Essendon fan. And last year was a disappointing year for him. I had him the year before, and he was sensational for us before he unfortunately got concussed. And that sort of changed a lot of what's happened since then. Essendon have learned to play without him, but it just feels, and you can see it with your eyes, that the way he's playing this year, it's not the same as last year. He's flying for marks. He's cutting across. Yes, okay, you can say that he was playing against a depleted forward line against the Saints, but you can see that even then, it was a very, very windy game. I know there's a lot of memes out there talking about Essendon complaining about wind, but you can't deny that there was wind. And wind can obviously play with the trajectory of the ball, can carry it further than you initially thought. It can make it harder for intercept defenders to really do their thing. And he flew for so many, and he probably would have taken it if not for the crazy conditions. He's playing a kick behind the ball, behind the play. and he's being used a lot as that distributor. Mason Redman is roaming up the ground. He's having a lot more offensive positioning compared to Jordan Ridley. I think Ridley, of the 500Ks, I think he's the safest one. Does he have the ceiling that a guy like Dacos has? Probably not. I'm going to be honest. But Ridley's not going to get tagged, whereas Dacos, he's getting tagged in pracky games. So it's I think Ridley is the safer option. I've discussed Yo. I think of the mid prices, I'm not sure if I'm going to go with him or a guy like Bowie, who has looked sensational. His scoring is insane. I actually got him last year as a quick cash grab. When Ridley started off really poorly last year, I actually went down to Bowie, and he did okay for me. He looks really good this year. This year seems a different year. But obviously, of course, there's still Selim to come back. And when Selim comes back, you are pretty confident that he might not have that exact same role again. So Yo, he has this job security, and he's also slightly cheaper, which is probably the two things that have, I suppose, gotten me back onto him. It's a question of whether or not I downgrade him to like Crozier, for example, and use the money elsewhere. But for now, I've got Yo in the side. Liam Jones was someone that we obviously knew existed and was someone that could be a pick. But my word, that performance against North Melbourne, Larky is no slouch. Larky is a sensational player. Comben is big, and he was having a very promising preseason as well. But Jones absolutely tore him apart. And it's no surprise. I think everybody knew that this guy was going to get games if he was fit enough. You don't recruit someone over 30 plus years old to come and just park him in the VFL side. You get him because you're going to play him. This is it. He doesn't have much more left to give in terms of years, obviously age being the major factor there. So you know he was going to play games. It's just a question of whether he's fit. And my word, he looked fit. He played so well, and he's a top 10 defender in the competition in terms of intercept marks. So I think he's going to do really well for us. Obviously, don't expect hundreds every week. That's not going to happen. But for his price, if he can go 65 plus, then that's sensational. And I think he's more than capable of doing that. Now I've got two rookies on the field, two rookie priced on the field. And I think these two are the only two players that you probably want to have that you can be completely comfortable fielding. Jimby, sensational. Absolutely sensational. This kid, from watching the game against Adelaide were well and truly crominating West Coast. I don't know if that's cringy or not, but I personally like saying that. And he was probably their best on ground. And he scored so well on such low time on ground. I think this kid, he's an absolute must-have. He's obviously not going to go big every single week, but he's certainly capable of doing so. That body is ready-made. He's got good size, good height on him, and he's working, and look, if you think the Eagles are going to have the ball in their backline a lot, look, we saw that he gathered a lot of disposal off halfback. So he's one that I think you absolutely have to have. Constable, new role in a new team. It's looking good. He's got kick-ins. He's playing off halfback. There's still injuries to other halfbacks. I think this guy is, he passed the eye test. He looked really good. Someone that you should have no problems fielding. So he'll get you 70s odd, I reckon. He'll score you in the 70s every week. And for a 123K rookie, that's sensational. You can then upgrade him later down the track. So I think these two guys are awesome. McKenna is one that you can have on field, but I'm just, I'm a bit sus on him. Obviously, he's been 3 years away from the game, and he was extremely rusty in the first game. Last game he did better, but I'm just not sure whether or not he's gonna, in the next game, for example, do better than that. So obviously, this is a preseason. They dominated against the Cats, who were missing a lot of targets up forward. So he probably had things going his way in terms of being able to score, and he didn't really make the most of it. Him and Wilmot. So I'm more comfortable having him on the bench. I don't want to have the occasional 40s or 50s. Yeah, he could go 80s some weeks, but I don't want to have him on field for those 40 games. I think Jimby and Constable are both more reliable on-field options. Sincotta, he could be a Cowan. Obviously, the reports are that they're both fighting for that last spot. But Sincotta is a mature age that they've brought in, And from what I can tell, it looks like he's the one that's going to be the favorite to play. Obviously, only time will tell, as I've said. But if Cowan is named, then we'll probably change it to Cowan. The only problem with both of these guys is that they're one bad game away from being dropped. So Sincotta started off really slow with a lot of clangers and turnovers, but as the game progressed, you could see that he was working his way into it, and he finished on a good score. So, look, I think that they're going to go with the mature ager and not rush the younger Cowan, personally speaking. So that's the back line. We'll then move to the next line, being the midfield. And for those of you guys who have been subscribers and have been watching our videos, you know how much I love this man. This guy is amazing. Sometimes it's like I almost want Adelaide to be like my second team inside simply because they got Rory Laird in there. The guy is so good. He goes about it the right way. He's just work ethic, running, tackling, disposal. And this preseason in particular, I've really admired the cleanliness of his disposal as well. You can just see he is trying to make not only All Australian, he's trying to get this this Adelaide team into finals. He wants to succeed with this team, and it's amazing to watch. It looks like he doesn't even get out of second or third gear, and the guy just racks up the pill like no one's business. He makes the right decision. He's so clean, and what's great about him is that he's now also not only just simply achieving, getting the ball and passing it off forward, he's also running, using that work rate, using that great tank that he's got to stay involved in the play and push forward and kick goals as well. If he's able to add an extra goal and literally average his disposals and a goal per game, this guy could win the Brownlow this year. I know you might be scoffing at me, but getting 25 disposals and a goal is definitely capable of winning a Brownlow, especially if there isn't anybody else to steal your votes. Laird might have some votes stolen here and there from a guy like Dawson, but Laird hardly ever gets tagged. I think if opponents are going to play against Adelaide, they're going to tag a Dawson. So Laird's definitely more than likely to get 3 votes in most games. Of course, we got the Bond. What can you say? The guy is absolute class. I didn't even need to see him in the practice games this year, in this preseason, to pick him. He was already in the side. As soon as the news came out that Dunks was gone, that before Supercoach had even opened, you knew you were going to have Bont in the team. The guy is an amazing, amazing player. Another one that was really keen to start this year that I think most people are going to go with is Tom Green. The guy is playing the in and under beast role. He started off the year like a house on fire. It was a sign of things to come. It was almost great that he didn't, go the whole season absolutely dominating, because it'd be a lot more expensive and there'd be a lot more people on him. There are some people still out there that doubt him and whether or not he's a worthy selection. Delusional. Absolutely. I think this guy is so good. He's going to get the mid-roll. Taranto, Hopper, both gone. He's feeding it out to Canelio and Kelly. What's there not to love in Tom Green? Sensational. 50 disposals. Yes, he was playing against some under-12s, but it doesn't matter. He got the 50 disposals, and then he had another ripping game. Didn't even look like he was going all out. This guy is one of my pods, one of my few pods, actually. I think most people tend to gravitate towards similar teams the closer we get to the season. I understand there are people that are a bit upset about that, but look, the more data we have, the more discussions that take place, the more videos that you see like this. Of course, people tend to, I suppose, be convinced, for example. But as you're going to see in the video that we put out with JP, an amazing video, the big recommendation is stick to your guts. You can do it. Don't feel the regret of having been convinced by someone or simply following a pack and then seeing that gut feeling of yours go off the chain and be insane. That could have been you. The pack doesn't win the 50K. The pack doesn't come number one. You got to blaze your own path. And that's sort of what I'm doing here with Will Setterfield. I think this guy, his path, he wasn't played in his best position. The guy is certainly capable. He's an in and under player. He's got a good size to him. And it's something that we at the Bombers have been missing for so long. Ever since Job Watson, he's a Brownlow medalist. Don't you say otherwise. As soon as Job retired, we didn't have a big body to take up that mantle. Yeah, we got Parrish, and Parrish has been putting on size, we've run the package through there quite a few times, but it's not the same. Setterfield, I think, has come to the club, and his best position, playing him to his strength, should be playing him in the CBAs. I think he had 50% CBAs in the game against the Saints, and he still scored really, really well. I expect during the season that he's not going to have so few. I think he's going to have more. I don't expect Perkins to have 50%. It was just a preseason game. We're looking to experiment. That's the time to do so. I think this guy is really, really capable. And I've got him instead of Warple. Warple is someone that I'm still not 100% sold on. I looked at him. The guy had 30 disposals to get to crack the ton. How often is he going to get 30 disposals to crack the ton? I'm not sure. He's still a butcher. He might work for Tasman Meats on the side. I don't know if that's the case or not. But I'm personally preferring, I think, Setterfield. Yes, there might be some uncertainty with how much midfield he's going to get. But if he got 50% CBAs and he's still outshone what Warple did, I think I'm happy to go with Setterfield. We've got Hopper. I think he's one of the most highly owned players. I think he's the number one most highly owned midfielder, and for good reason. He's going to get that midfield minutes. He's a great player, very talented, and he's going to be an absolute mainstay for the Tigers and the Guts. Yes, he wasn't the best. He didn't shine or do anything revolutionary in the preseason game, but he still scored really well. Imagine when he has his good games. I think this guy, you got to have him in there. This guy's another one of my pods. So I've got Setterfield, and now I've got Nazaya Wanganeen-Miller. Obviously, this guy, he's now, second-year player, yes, but he's got a different role than what he had last year. He's playing off halfback. He's taking kick-ins. Ross, the boss, really rates him as a ball user, and it's clear to see. The guy is silky smooth. He's a great player, and a lot of these games that the Saints are going to play is under the roof at Marvel when the conditions are great. He's not going to be kicking with these insane windy conditions that they had at Moorabbin when they played against us, and he still scored really well. I think this guy is capable of, again, outscoring a guy like Warple, who could, in a lot of games, due to his poor disposal efficiency or simply being beaten up by a better midfield, who could, I think, drop the occasional 70. I think Nazaya is more than likely going to get you around 90 points every single game. Ashcroft and McKenzie, these two guys have had sensational games. McKenzie, we didn't see in the first bracket game, but he came in the second, and my goodness, he was sensational. Ashcroft, again, all of the ravings about him. He's just a mature youngster, which is crazy to say, but he just is so strong, and he looks completely ready to slot in to that Brisbane Lions team. I think these two, you really are able to field them. Phillips is also, I believe, a fieldable option at M8. The guy scored a 60 against. I like to call the Western Bulldogs midfield a black hole. They just suck up all points, and it's incredible how powerful they are at this game. And the kid still scored 60. I think this guy is really impressive. He got a lot of CBAs, and he's going to continue to do so. I think he is very fieldable at M8. But for me, I think it's really important that, as is every year, having an amazing bench and having amazing coverage is really important for your cash gen, almost as much as it is important to have them on the field. So I got Phillips there, Oscar Baker. He just played himself into round one. I think that was an amazing performance that he had there. You got to pick him if he's going to play round one, and he showed that he's more than capable of scoring really well. And Alwyn Davey Jr., we had massive raps for him at the Bombers. Obviously, there was a lot of preseason hype, and the fact that we got him for so cheap, for so low, no one bidded on him, was sensational. It's an absolute steal, and we can see what he was capable of. He's not a small forward that sticks close to home. He roams up the ground, and he does some beautiful dance steps to free himself and hit targets. I think this kid at 117K, he's done enough to play, and he's going to make you money for sure. We come to the ruck line. Yes, it's not Darcy. Yes, I've got the Jared Witts. I got the pencil. I love calling him a pencil. I don't know, every time I see him running around the ground, he's just so stiff looking. I think he's sensational. People kept saying that he had a Mickey Mouse run with bad ruckman, and guess what? He's got another Mickey Mouse run in round one. He's got Laddams and McAndrew, so don't you worry about him. He's still got going to perform insanely well in round one. But jokes aside, I think from what I've seen from him this preseason, is just cemented in my mind why I had him to start with. He relied a lot on hit outs to advantage. He had an interrupted preseason last year, and you could tell that he wasn't really covering the ground well and he wasn't being involved in plays. But from what I've seen from him in these two practice games, he hasn't gone crazy. He has had fairly low time on ground, and he's just been, pacing himself to start the season really, really well. He's slimmed up, he looks lean, and he looks clean with the ball in hand as well. I liked what I saw from him, and if he's able to add a goal to his name every week, like we saw what he did last week, that's sensational. I love Wits. He's the sole primary ruckman for the Suns. He's not going to get subbed out, and compared to all the other premiums, there's no question marks over his durability and his job, his security. He's not sharing with anybody. I love Wits. I think he's sensational. Marshall has got to be one of the biggest locks in the game. I don't have to speak much about him. And Madden is one that I've got there, contemplating whether or not I go with a guy like McAndrew or a guy like Radagalia. But of course, that's money that I simply don't have right now. I'll have to tinker with the team and see if I can fit him in. But right now, he's my dedicated loop. I'm not sure how important that is when I got a guy like Laird who's capable of absolutely pumping it out every single week. I've got to tinker around and see if I could, I could go down a Wits down to Darcy and free up roughly 40k, which would allow me to then get Madden up to a McAndrew with ease. But I don't really want McAndrew. I'm not sure how well he's going to do, if he's going to make me any money, really. We get to the forward line. The forward line is, I think, one that is fairly standard, I must confess. I think you're going to see a lot of this setup all around. It just is a good blend, I think, between premiums and mid prices that have shown that they're capable of making money. And I think it's good for the reason being, we're going to get a lot of very relevant DPP involved with the forward line. We're going to have guys like Gawn and Petrarca, just off the top of my head, just from Melbourne alone, who are going to get forward status. And these are guys that you're going to absolutely want to get into your team. Guys like Bruin have shown, I think, Taranto, Rosie, Dunkley, a lot has been said about them. It really comes down to Goulden, Bruin, and Flanders. And of course, you got the two rookies on the bench. Goulden, I think, has played himself, like Bruin, has played himself into just about everybody's team. The Phantom, it was his boy all along. He's called it. He knew he was going to go big, and it looks like he really is. Of course, there was no Callum Mills, which is a massive, massive consideration. So you know for sure that Goulden is not going to get that CBA percentage like he had in the Pracky game. But there's no doubt that he has shown that he's capable of doing a lot more than being parked at half forward, and he's bound to get more CBAs, I think. He's averaging the 80s with only 10% CBAs. If he can get simply another 10%, he'll be really close to that 100 mark, which is something that you can probably hold on to for the whole season. But if we start getting a lot of really good DPP options in the forward line, he would make you the money to then be able to upgrade him to any one of those guys. Tanner Bruin also was sensational. He absolutely killed it in that Pracky game. And he didn't even play full midfield minutes. Of course, there were some people still to come back, but you can be sure that this guy is going to get a lot of CBAs in the season proper, and because he's the Selwood clone. He's the Selwood replacement. And it's insane that Geelong are able to keep doing this, preying on these mid-prices, on these expansion teams, and really getting insanely talented players for next to nothing. If anything, they're getting paid to do so, like with the likes of Bose and Pick 7, for example. So I think these guys are very safe. Not only are they capable of scoring 90 plus, I also think that there is a lot of high ownership that is only increasing over time up until the preseason starts. Flanders is one that you're less sure of, simply because, there was a lot of hype over the preseason coming out of Gold Coast themselves that this guy is looking to really take the next step and has been absolutely killing it. The thing is, his role historically has not been great for Supercoach. coach. A half forward is not really something that you want to see. You want the mids and the rucks and the halfbacks. They're the guys that you want in your team. And Flanders is none of those. But when you look at him and when you watch the way he plays, he's able to gather the ball at will, just disposals at will, even with his, supposedly poorer role, because he just runs and gets involved in stoppages. He always serves himself as an extra number around the stoppage, and he's able to be involved in a lot of chains of disposals. So this guy, even with normally what you would consider a poor role, he still gathered 30 disposals and he still was one of the top scorers. Now, even the benefit to that though, and seeing him in these two pracky games, it just shows you, it just makes you confident that the return of Touk is not going to negatively affect him, because he didn't have a lot of CBAs, even with Touk's absent. He's got a set role, and that role does not involve Touk. If anything, Touk coming into the side might allow the Suns to get more first use, which could again give Flanders another opportunity to receive more balls right off in the first instance of every play. So Flanders is someone that I've really warmed up to, and for that price of $256,000, I think it's definitely a very fair price that someone like him should make money if he continues playing the way he's been playing. And then we've got our two rookies, Sturt and Chandler. Sturt, someone that Big J was a massive fan of, and he showed that his scoring is really good playing in the forward line. Of course, there were other forwards like a Fergus Green, for example. But if I'm going to choose a forward, you guys know already by now what my view is on key forwards. I do not like key forwards. But if I'm going to pick a forward, it's going to be for a team that is going to be really good and actually give them supply. I don't want to pick Comben. I don't want to pick Green, because I think they're playing for teams they're going to finish bottom four. And these teams that are going to finish bottom four finish that low because they don't have the scoring ability and they don't have the defensive ability either. So they're going to have a lot more ball going away from their forward line, and very rarely will it be going to them. So if I'm going to pick forwards, it's going to be for top caliber teams. And I think Sturt in Freo and Chandler in Melbourne have both shown that they're really capable, good young men, great players, and they're playing for great teams that's actually going to get them the ball moving forward. So that gives them an increased chance to actually score, whereas guys like Green and Comben are going to have to make the most of every little opportunity that comes their way. There is no leeway for them. Guys like Sturt and Chandler, they'll get a lot more supply, and yes, they might stuff up here and there because they're key forwards. But they're going to have more and more opportunity, though, to do good things to offset those bad. If Green and Comben don't do anything good with their few opportunities, you could end up in the negatives. And Comben knows all about that from that preseason game. And so, guys, this is what the team looks like as a whole. I don't have much money left in the bank, but I think that there's nothing really weak about it on field. I think I've got players that are going to be top of their line in every single line. I consider Doherty, Ridley, 1, 2. I consider these players all to be keepers for the whole year. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Green is going to be able to maintain it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 10 genuine keepers for the whole year. Obviously, the jury's still out on Goulden. I'm not one that's rushing to simply be like, yeah, this guy's going to be a top 6 forward, 100%. I'm not sure, and I'm completely honest. I'm a straight shooter, and I'm not sure just how many CBAs. There's no question of his talent. It's just a question of how many CBAs he's going to get. If he gets enough, then yeah, he's going to be a keeper. But at this point in time, I can't be sure. And there's no real weaknesses. Ashcroft and McKenzie, I think, are the two best fieldable options. And I think Jimby and Constable are also the two best fieldable options in the back line. So with that, guys, that is my team. Let me know in the comments below what you think of it. Is it something similar to what you guys are running? Obviously, there's still things to change, and I will be putting up another video asking for you guys' input, because, like I said, there are a few people I'm not sure about. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We are pumping out as much content as we can for you guys. every single week. The season is coming up really soon, and check out that JP interview video. We are so proud of that. We're really happy to have him on board. It was a great honor for us to interview him and get involved as well with our group. There's nothing to it for you guys. It's free to enter. You just got to have us liked, followed on Twitter, and subscribed on this channel. And then you can join our group. And if you win, you get a jersey of your choice. A jersey with the number of your choice. If you have the best week of the year, you end up with a couple of tickets to a game. And if you're just lucky, you're just part of the group, you want to have some fun, and you're lucky, you also can get an AFL store voucher. So guys, there's nothing stopping you. Free is good, and more free things makes us all very happy. So thanks so much for watching, guys. And remember, here at the Centre Bounce, we do the hard work so you don't have to.